Gentlemen, we were on the Shema, right? And I forgot your name? Tell me your name?
Michael.
Michael. Okay, so we've been through almost the first paragraph of Shema, and we were looking at it in the Chumash, trying to look at kind of like what Rashi tells us to have in mind for the Shema, because like we said, always it's very important that a person, the mitzvahs that he does on a day-to-day basis, that he looks into them and he learns about them. Because if he doesn't, so they're going to start to seem very routine. And once things start to get very routine, we start to lose that fire that we have for Judaism. And once we start losing that, then it's a little bit downhill. We don't want that, right? We want every day our Yiddishkeit to be fresh. Where do we see we even have a commandment to keep our Judaism fresh? We talked about it yesterday, gentlemen. V'ahavta, right, 92. You should love Hashem, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your resources, right? We talked about that yesterday. And these things that I command you today, right? God says, these things I command you today. Now, what was our problem with that? Did God command these things just for one day?
It's every day.
Every day, right? So why did God say these things I command you today? Is that every day we should look at it like it was being commanded just today. Why? What difference is that going to make in our service of God? What difference is that going to make is if we looked at it as like a new mitzvah that just came to our hands? Well, you want to know the truth? I mean, a lot of us, Bali Tshuva, it's an incredible thing, is that, like I know I do, it used to be that every time you found out about a new mitzvah, there was like an incredible amount of excitement. Wow, a new way that I can get close to Hashem. It's very exciting, you know, and the truth is even as you grow more and more, you start realizing even in the mitzvahs that you already know about, that there's more and more to know about them, and it also creates a level of excitement, right? So Hashem tells us today, right? They should be on our mouths, right? Okay, good. So another thing I just wanted to add, right? So we were talking about the first paragraph, right? What's the essence of the first paragraph? Okay, I'm gonna quiz some of the guys who have been around, right? The essence of the first paragraph, right? What is the yoke that we are taking upon ourselves with the first paragraph? Right, the yoke of the heavenly kingdom. What is the yoke of the heavenly kingdom?
The mitzvahs.
Not exactly. There's something that comes before the mitzvahs.
The knowledge of Hashem's sovereignty.
Very good. The knowledge of Hashem's sovereignty and His unity, right? What does it mean, Hashem's unity, as we defined it? Another pop quiz, gentlemen. I mean, Hashem is one. Okay, it means a lot of very deep things, but on a basic level to us, what does it mean? Everything that's happening is coming from Hashem, and what does that mean to me? If I know everything's coming from Hashem, it's the greatest tool that a Jew will have in the difficulties of life.
The good and the bad comes from Hashem, and
Right.
it's all for the good.
Right, it's all for the good, right? And that's what we're reminding ourselves when we say Hashem Echad, Hashem is one, right? I was actually noticing, right? This is essentially, if you've ever heard of the mitzvah or the understanding of the word emunah, right? What's emunah? This is essentially what emunah is, right? We have a song, right? We have a song. It's actually from David HaMelech, right? We say, Lahagid baboker chazdecha, ve'emunatcha ba'leilos, emunah. Everybody, no. So, right? Everyone knows that song, right? So it means, I'll tell over your kindness in the morning, Lahagid baboker chazdecha, ve'emunatcha ba'leilos, and your faithfulness at night, right? So what does that mean? That I only tell over Hashem's kindness in the day, and at night I'm faithful? What does that mean? That makes sense to everybody? When a person's in an aspect of his life that's called day, which is where things are clear, you don't necessarily, you always need emunah, but not as much do you need emunah. Emunah, faith, is when things get dark, right? When we're in our own type of life, our part of life called night. Right? When things are not so clear. So what do we say to ourselves when things are not so clear? How do we have emunah? We say, okay, I know this also comes from Hashem. And maybe, just maybe, gentlemen, remember we talking about the Shema, we say that you should say the Shema when?
In the morning, when you wake up and when you go to sleep.
When you wake up, day, and when you lie down, night. And so maybe I'm just saying, maybe that's another allusion to this concept that we're talking about, that a person needs to express his knowledge of Hashem's unity in the morning, and especially, I want to say, at night, when he's lying down, when things are not so clear, right? And you see, it's actually, like I tell Michael all the time, the physical world is a perfect not perfect. The physical world is a manifestation of the spiritual world. So when you analyze day and night, right? Day is what? Things are clear. I see things. I'm able to see. What's night? Night is things are blurry. Things are dark. That thing out there, I don't know exactly where I'm going, right? I get a little bit lost. And sometimes things can look different than what they truly are. That post in the darkness could look like a person coming at me, right? That's why kids get so freaked out, because they think every little thing in their room is like a monster, right? Because things get blurred, right? So in our own lives, it's the same thing, right? What happens in our own lives? You have times where you don't see, that you can't see the road ahead. You can't see the direction that Hashem wants you to be going. Right? That's called night. A lot of times things that seem to be one thing are actually something else. The Ramchal talks to us. I'm trying to think of a good example. That, okay, we won't get in that because I can't think of a perfect example now. Okay, good. So fine, right? And another pop quiz, gentlemen. Ve'ahavta, you should love Hashem your God. What does that mean according to Rashi? Does it mean that we actually have to come up with a feeling, an emotional feeling of love for God? It could mean that. But that's very difficult. Right? What does Rashi teach us? Why does a child do things that his parent tells him? Because he doesn't want to upset his father. Right? That's coming from a place of love. That's essentially what Rashi says. That you should do mitzvahs from love and not from fear. Now don't get me wrong. If it's between doing mitzvahs from fear or not doing them at all, you should do mitzvahs from fear. But what does Rashi tell us? Doing mitzvahs from love is incomparable. Doing mitzvahs from fear is incomparable to someone who does mitzvahs from love, right? And we talked about that also. Okay, good. With all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Oh, now very good. Next, just another quick insight into the first paragraph. After we talk about that we have to love Hashem with all of our heart, with all of our life, right? Means we even have to give up our life if need be, Hashem asks, and with all of our me'odecha, which we translate either as money or me'od, mida, from the lashon of measurements. Anything that Hashem measures out to you, be thankful for it. And then it goes into, and let these words that I command you be on your heart. Right? So Rashi says a very interesting thing. He says, what's the connection, right? First, we have a mitzvah of loving Hashem with all of our heart, soul, might. And then, all of a sudden, God tells us, put these words, whether it be the words of the Shema or the words of the entire Torah, put them on your heart. Let these words be on your heart. So Rashi says, what's the connection? Why does one come right after the other? He says, very beautiful insight. How will a person reach this level of loving Hashem? How will a person get to the level of wanting to do mitzvahs out of love? Rashi explains, via learning the Torah, by putting these words on your heart. Right? Let's look at the words again. 92. Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You'll love Hashem your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your might. And now I'm telling you, and how are you going to do that? How are you going to reach that level? By putting these words on your heart. Right? That's how a person is going to reach love of Hashem. Let me ask you, gentlemen, something. Out of your guys' experience with the Torah, have you felt such a thing? And if so, how did it occur? How did a person, via the learning of Hashem's Torah, come to a feeling of a level of wanting to do Hashem's mitzvahs out of love? So we said what I said yesterday is that when a person learns the Torah and he realizes that everything that Hashem has given to me, every mitzvah that He's given to me is in order for my own good, so that also creates a level of love, right? Okay, good. Next, let's continue. Now, we started the second paragraph of the Shema. So what's the second paragraph of the Shema, right? Remember we said there's two things to have in mind when we start the second paragraph. What's to come? And like I said, it says it right here in the English. This is always a big thing in Judaism, that we as Jews are expected to translate our emotions, right? There's a very common theme that you have in, let's say, Israeli society, right? You ever see these, like the very stereotypical, like Israeli taxi driver, right? Who doesn't really do any of the mitzvahs, and you ever talk to that person about religion, and they say, Ani Yehudi balev, I'm a Jew in my heart, right? So, okay, I would say that that's a certain level, but what is he essentially telling you? I feel a closeness to God, but I don't really do nothing about it, right? Our goal is really, and you see from maybe the movement of the Shema, that first we emphasize our knowledge of God and our love for God, and with that emotion, what are we expected to do to translate it into action, right? That a Jew takes action. And with all the feelings of emotion, of love and fear that we have, that's supposed to change our day-to-day actions, right? Whether it be in doing mitzvahs, whether it be in preventing ourselves from doing more sins, right? Right? Now this is very difficult. This is a very difficult thing to do, but I would say that this is really the essence of the Torah, right? They say that all learning that a person does is in order to translate into some level of action, right? And that doesn't mean that, oh, I shouldn't learn about things that aren't relevant, right? No, it should mean that with my now, right, let's say I'm learning about a certain mitzvah in the Gemara, and it has nothing to do with life, day-to-day things. It has nothing to do with something that I would do on a day-to-day basis. So even though that might be true, but now with my new expanded knowledge of Hashem, I should be able to be more devoted to Him, right? That I can translate that into action of higher levels of devotion in certain in the other aspects of my service of God. Yeah? Okay, good. So now we have a mitzvah. Now in the second paragraph, it's going to talk about accepting the commandments and reward and punishment. Okay, so let's go through it. So it says, "V'haya im shamoa tishmeu." Now, in Hebrew, this is a very interesting phrase. How would you translate it literally? By im shamoa, if you will hear, tishmeu, you will hear, right? Doesn't really make sense, right? So, okay, so colloquially, this can mean, very often, this means in Torah language, if you really listen, right? It's more like emphatic, if you will really listen, right? But Rashi, right, translates it actually more literally. He says, if, he translates it like this, im shamoa, if you hear something, if you listen to something when it's old, as in if you review something, if you hear something that you've already heard, tishmeu, you'll hear it anew, right? We talked about this a little bit yesterday also, this concept of, with the Torah, I don't know if other documents work like that, but the Torah, the more that you go in depth on something that you already know, the more new novel ideas will be unveiled to you, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So if you will listen to my commandments, Asher anochi metzave eschem hayom. Once again, we see the word hayom, and we have in mind to ourselves that I'm trying to make this new in my life. La'ava es Hashem Elokeichem, ula'avdo. To love Hashem your God, right? Ula'avdo. Oh, what does it mean to serve Him, right? We didn't see this in the first paragraph. What does it mean when we say to serve Hashem? So la'avdo, right, the beginning of the Gemara in Tainus teaches us, la'avdo actually means ezehi avoda shebelev. What type of service, what is the service of the heart? Is davening, actually, prayer, right? This is where our sages get that we have a mitzvah from the Torah to pray. Oh, so now I'll ask the question, why is prayer specifically called service? Right? How is me praying to Hashem me serving Hashem? Right? Maybe why more so than other mitzvahs? Once again, if you serve Hashem with all of your heart and all of your soul. So now, basically, Hashem is going to talk about the blessings that He's going to bestow upon us. Right? Now, what question we asked yesterday? We said, I thought that there's no reward for doing mitzvahs in this world. And here you see that Hashem is seemingly giving us a reward for if we do His mitzvahs. How does it work? What did we say yesterday, gentlemen? What did we say yesterday? I thought there's no reward for doing mitzvahs, but yet you see Hashem says, if you do my mitzvahs, I'm going to give you all these things. Look, I'll give you rain in its time, Yoreu Malkosh, light rain and the heavy rains, and you'll gather your grain and your wine and your oil. And I'll give you stuff for your animals to eat, and you'll eat and be satiated. Now, and gentlemen, I should just let you guys know, I think especially for a Baal Tshuva, right? This is a very hard concept, right? Because we were raised probably the exact opposite, right? a person who grew up in the Western world today, the whole like fulcrum of the Western world is that I need to work incredibly hard in order to get whatever I need, right? That I need to, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have friends, even my sister, she works like, I don't know, 60 hours a week, and I've heard that that's almost called normal nowadays in America. What do you say, Michael? Oh, you're gonna say, right, and maybe you guys have, maybe you know people that like work has become such an incredibly arduous task, and you ask people, why are you working so much? This is what I need to do to get by, right? That people have very high standards for what they want, and the truth of the matter is, you could be right, is that Hashem promises that He will take care of us, that our goal needs to be to serve Hashem, right? It almost says, it doesn't say anything about a job. It says, if you serve me, you do what I ask you to do, so I'm going to provide for you, whatever way it's necessary. Now, you're right. What it could mean is, though, I'm going to provide for you, but I'm not going to give you the greatest, like everything that your heart wants, right? Hashem doesn't promise that we'll be rich if we serve Him. What does Hashem promise? Hashem promises that that He's going to take care of us. That's very difficult for some people, because for a lot of people, they don't just want the essentials, they want, the high life. But like we said, what's the essence of a Jew? A Jew, just a very good thing to know, gentlemen, is that obviously the things that a person needs in order to serve Hashem, okay, so that's something that he can ask Hashem for. But every person really needs to think to himself, what do I need in this life so I can be the best servant Hashem as possible, right? A lot of the times the things that we think we need or want are actually going to hurt our ability to serve Hashem in the greatest possible way, right? And we're actually going to get to that. I'll show you a very good example. After Hashem says, I will give you rain in your time, all these things, and you will eat, and you will be satiated, right? You're going to feel nice. Right? You're going to be satiated, not just physically, but also, right? Hisham lechem, guard yourselves unless unless your hearts turn away. Right? So Rashi says a very beautiful thing. He says, once again, what's the connection? Why, once God tells us you will eat and be satiated, all of a sudden He says, guard yourselves. Right? Everyone hear the question? Beautiful question. God says, you'll eat, you'll be satiated, but guard yourselves unless you go after foreign gods.
Well,
what's the juxtaposition, right? Eating, being satiated, and guarding ourselves. The only time that the Jews begin to rebel against Hashem is when?
Things are good.
When things are good, right? When things are good. It says a beautiful line in the Torah. It says, Yishma Yeshurun Vayivat. That Yeshurun is another name for the Jewish people, right? Yeshurun, they got fat. You could translate it. They got fat and they kicked, right? That Hashem sometimes gives us such a bounty, and if we don't use it correctly, we overstuff ourselves with all the good that Hashem's giving us. It actually has the opposite effect. It doesn't bring us closer to Hashem, it brings us farther away from Hashem.
spoiled kids.
Spoiled kids? Exactly. That's why people always ask, you religious people, you're not going to give your kids, the iPhones and the vacations and the big screen TVs and all this stuff. Well, your kids are not going to be, they're not going to love you. They're not going to be happy. The answer is actually almost the opposite. Almost the opposite. The more material goods a person gives another person, more problems. Who taught us that? Not Notorious B.I.G., right? Notorious B.I.G. was quoted as saying, more money, more problems. But the truth is, it was in the Torah 2,000 years before. Who? It was either Hillel or Rabbi Akiva who said, Marbe nechasim, more possessions, marbe deaga, more worry. Right? So it was not Biggie Smalls. But nice. That doesn't surprise me, right? Anything that he would have said that it had any bit of wisdom, I assume he didn't come up with himself. No offense. Actually, yeah. Okay, so, no, but the whole point we were trying to say, gentlemen, was, that Hashem, right, gentlemen, this is what a Jew has to have in mind, that if I serve Hashem, and if I'm really trying to serve Hashem, He will provide for me. Hashem is not going to let His Jewish people go hungry, right? And that's one of the main praises that we say about Hashem always, is that even the evil people, the people that spend their whole lives worshiping, I don't know what the heck they do in India, worshiping whatever they're worshiping, or the people that live their whole lives disregarding Hashem, you see the kindness of Hashem is that He still feeds them, right? Even if their purpose is for the Jew, it's still like a big disgrace, right? My whole point is that even people who are disgracing Hashem, he still feeds them, right? Hashem doesn't need them to make a sheitel for the Jewish people. It's a schus for them that they, it's a merit for them that they get the ability to do such things, right? But that's the whole point. So a Jew has to think, if I see that Hashem is feeding people who are going against Hashem, all the more so me, who's trying to make him happy, who's trying to do my purpose in life, of course Hashem's going to take care of me, right? But the truth is, gentlemen, I don't think that that's so hard for people to believe. I think it's easier for people. What's hard for people is, yeah, but maybe that means I'm not going to get my Ferrari. Or maybe that means I'm not going to get my whatever, right? So then I would just give the answer is that we come from a society that we said, says the more you have, the happier we'll be. But as you can tell, the world of reality that's not true, right? That's not true. The highest level of suicide and drug abuse and depression is usually amongst Hollywood people, right? Usually they are the least happy. Why does everyone think they're so happy and why does everyone want to be like them? Because the media makes it seem like they're happy, right? So we have to keep that in mind, gentlemen. It's very important we keep that in mind. Okay, so good. So we know that Hashem's going to take care of us if we do His mitzvahs. And we have this beautiful line. Guard yourself, pen yiftei levavchem, v'sartem v'avadetem Elohim acherim, right? Guard yourselves unless you turn away from Hashem and you serve other gods. Right, now, let's just talk a little bit about idol worship, right? We all know the standard idea of idol worship. And it's a little bit foreign to us, right? Because we can't really, I don't see why a person had such a desire, to bow down to a tree or a statue, right?
It's taken away from us.
Oh, right. So that's really the answer is, it's sad because you have a lot of people come to our Smech and they're like, you know how I know that the Torah is not true? He's like, because our forefathers bowed down to idols. They just were silly, right? No, so we have a tradition not like that. We have a tradition that there was a incredible yearning for idol worship and the sages got together and they took it away, right? Everybody heard this idea? Everyone's heard this concept? Okay, good. So, but the question is, what about in today's day? Now, I'm not talking about in India where they worship cows. They actually worship, whatever. I actually don't know what they do in India. I apologize if I've offended any Indians.
They do worship cows.
They do worship, okay. But is there such a thing as idol worship in our day, right? Now, you have to use your spiritual spectacles, right? Because, okay, there's no Americans really going around worshiping trees or,
But there is idol worship.
Okay, so that's
there's some hippies out there, some serious hippies out there.
Yeah?
Worshiping some trees.
Oh, really? Okay, fine. So I'm saying not that, but what about inside of us? Okay, we know that Hashem is one. He is the one with all the power. How often do I attribute power to something that does not actually have power? And in a certain way, now, you're not going to, we're not going to take you to a Beis Din and stone you for this. But it's something that a person has to check up on himself. Where do I attribute power to things that are not actually powerful, right? I would say the main characteristic, like I already talked about before, is in the way of obtaining money, right? Why do people work so much? Because they believe that the economy or their boss is this being that has to be served, and he is the source of my money. So therefore, I have to serve him in order to get money, right? And if he tells me to work on Saturday, chas v'shalom, right? Well, how else am I going to get money, right? How often do thoughts like that go through our heads, right? So the question is, gentlemen, by you believing that, who are you attributing power to? You're attributing power to your boss, attributing power to whatever, right? Right. No, I'm not saying. Listen, we have to. There is an aspect called putting in effort. I'm not. Don't say. Yeah. Don't say Yossi told me that we don't have to go out and work anymore. I'm just trying to show everybody the other side of things, that it's not the attributing power, right? What do we do? Every human needs to feel a feeling of self-worth, right? We all want to feel important. Now, where do most people go in our day and age is, let's call it social media, right? That a person will put up a picture of himself with his bio and all the things he's doing, right? Because he wants to feel that he's important. And his feelings and his ability to feel important is coming from the fact that he thinks that people are looking at him and think I can't say it like a rabbi, but basically that people look at his life and think he's cool, right? He attributes confidence, the ability to give confidence to the cyber world or to other people. Whereas for a Jew, the whole essence of where we should go for our confidence and where we should go for our self-worth is to whom? It's to Hashem. Like I said, we every aspect of our mood, we have our whole mood determined by others, right? Why am I sad? Because my girlfriend didn't text me back for the 6th time, right? So we say, not you, that's Shalom. Right? No, but we allow others to determine our self-worth. We allow others to determine our emotions. Whereas for a Jew has to train himself. Like I said, once again, gentlemen, this is hard, and not to say I'm speaking to myself mostly. Is that I need to know I am valuable in this world. Why? Because Hashem chose me to be a Jew. He chose me out of 6 billion people to be one of His trusted servants. And now if I have that, it does not matter what happens to a person. If he really internalizes that, it doesn't matter. You can be fired, you can be down, you can be all these things you say, but God chose me to serve Him, right? And that's where I get my self-worth from, right? We're in the topic of strange worship, and I'm translating worship as attributing power to something. So I'm showing in our lives how there's many places where we attribute power in the wrong direction. We attribute the power of money to our boss. We attribute the power of giving me self-worth to our friends or to our Facebook or to whatever, the silly things people are attributing, right? Whereas really, I need to take that away from strange worship and bring it to Hashem. Hashem is the source of money. Hashem is the source of my self-worth. Right. Good?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so right. So you say Hashem is telling us, and like I said, gentlemen, you can plug that into when you say the Shema. When Hashem says, don't go after foreign gods. You don't have to just think about, I don't know, the sun god, whatever. I can't even think of the names of people, but the names of different gods people had. But you can think.
God of fertility.
Okay, good, right. You can think to yourself, the gods and the strange gods that I, so to speak, worship, that I need to not go after. Okay, good. So you say Hashem is going to basically punish you. He's going to make things hard, right? Chara, v'atzaris hashemayim. Hashem's going to shut off the heavens. B'lei matar, v'ramalos yitenes yivula, right? Basically, very simple, that Hashem is going to not give you blessing if you go against Him. Here's the obvious question, gentlemen, right? We always say the famous klal, if you do what Hashem says, He's going to provide. If He's not going to do what Hashem says, if you're not going to do it, He's not going to provide. Do we see that in this world?
Yes. No.
Michael, I know, is already in the depths, right? Michael is already digging towards some deep answer because he said yes to the answer that's on the Pashut Pshat, no. Right? So let's just, right, the way the Torah works, start with the Pashut Pshat. Pashut Pshat is, no, I don't see that. I see a lot of people who are not doing what Hashem has, and they're rich, baby. The basic answer is we're looking at the world with tunnel vision, right? We see an evil person who's having great things happen to him. We have to realize, okay, that it could be that Hashem is paying that person off. Whereas a person who is doing great things, but bad things are happening, hard things are happening to him, it's because Hashem wants to get rid of all of his sins so He can give him complete good in the next world. That's one answer. But there's another answer. Very simple answer, gentlemen, and we have to juke this into our brains, and it's what we said before about Hollywood. That just because a person has a lot of money, that does not define any level of happiness. Right? You can have millions of dollars and be miserable. You can have a ton of bracha, and if you do not have the ability to perceive how to use that blessing, you could be completely depressed. Right? What do our sages say about richness? Who is a rich man, says the Torah?
One who's happy with what he has.
One who appreciates.
Happy with his lot.
Hasameach bechalko, one who is happy with what he has, right?
Yeah.
So my answer is, you don't even have to get into the next world. People who are doing what Hashem wants are going to be happy with what they have. And if you're not doing what Hashem wants, doesn't matter how much He gives you, you're not going to be happy with what you have. You're going to want more and more, right? And once again, right, so, right, V'samtem es devaya ela al vavchem al nafshechem, right? Place these words on our heart, on our soul. Right, gentlemen, you see, Hashem wants that we have constantly in our mind Hashem's unity, right? That I want to do his mitzvahs, and that Hashem's going to do good for me if I do his mitzvahs and do bad for me if I don't, right? He just wants that to be at the forefront of our minds always, right? And we say the same things that we say in the first paragraph, right? Teach them to your children, to speak in them, when you go, all these things, right? And then we see Hashem says, in order that you will, Yirbu Yamechem, will increase your days and the days of your children on the land that Hashem's commanded to give to you. Right? So just one other cool thing, just an allusion to the Torah, right? We learn from this line, right, that teach these things to your children in order that you'll live on the land for a long time, right? In order that you have a long life. And we say not only is this talking about Shema, but it's also talking about the whole Torah, that we have a responsibility to teach to our children, right? And Rashi on this place says a very interesting thing. He makes a inference that, if I teach my children Torah, you see the Torah says it's going to increase life. So what if I don't teach my children Torah?
You're killing them.
Oh my goodness. Shalom said it, I didn't say it. No, that you see that a person who has the opportunity to teach his children or to help his children to learn, get them a tutor or whatever, and does not, is cutting off their life. Because if teaching gives them life, will allow them to live long, so, obviously, and not only do we mean in the physical realm, but we also mean the spiritual realm, gentlemen. What's spiritual life?
Everlasting.
Not only everlasting, but the ability to appreciate life, right? That if you're giving your children Torah, you're giving them real life. On a spiritual perspective, let's appreciate, okay? What is life, gentlemen? Any person in life who thinks that I am not going to have to undergo any pain is crazy, and they're actually never going to really appreciate anything. They're never going to have any real pleasure, right? So everyone has to at least have some level of knowledge that I have to go through a little bit of pain. But okay, so gentlemen, let's like this. Remember we said, if you teach your children Torah, you're giving them life. If you don't teach your children Torah, you're taking away life. So what is life? Not just in the physical realm, but so the Torah defines it, right? We say it when we take out the Sefer Torah every day, not every day, Mondays, Thursdays. We say a beautiful pasuk in the Torah. Hashem says, Kol hadvekim b'Hashem, all of you who are clinging to Hashem, what does it say?
You're all alive today.
Chaim kulchem hayom, you're alive. So what does that mean? Life, right? It's called life to the degree that I am connecting to my Creator, to the degree that I'm serving my Creator, to the degree I'm doing what Hashem wants of me, right? I would say the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in today's society, seems like this has just become a rant of today's society, but what is the biggest cause I hold of depression, right? Biggest cause I hold of depression, and this is not just my theory, this is Abraham Maslow. Everybody know Abraham Maslow?
Hierarchy of needs.
The hierarchy of needs, right? Abraham Maslow says, what does a person need, right? Besides, once you get to the very basic needs that every human needs, food and security and right, self-worth, that a person strives for what is called interpersonal relationship. That we know.
Self-actualization.
Self-actualization. That a person, when his basic needs are taken care of, he strives for what? To self-actualize, right? So in America today, you have unbelievable amounts of wealth. Everyone has food. Everyone has ability to go to college and to have a good education. But everybody's depressed. Everybody's popping pills. And if they're not popping depression pills, they're popping anxiety pills. If they're popping anxiety pills, they're taking some sort of drug in order to get them out of the mind state of sobriety that's so difficult in today's day and age. Right? Why is everybody trying to escape? Not everybody. I'm being facetious just to get the point across, okay? But why is everybody trying to escape? Because nobody knows what they're here to achieve. The society that we come from gives us all these tools, right? But doesn't actually tell us what we're here to achieve. So now you have a person who has all the tools, who is ready to self-actualize, but has no idea the mechanism to do it. Agree, disagree. You can disagree. You can disagree with me. Not saying it's everybody, but right. It's called the famous FOMO disease, right? That the world that we come from teaches us to have FOMO, fear of missing out, right? That when there's so many options, right? We all remember the story of the tape player, my friend with the tape player. And the Torah says, you know what? Ditch all of that stuff. You have one purpose, it's to serve Hashem, right? And now you've eliminated all other, there's so many options out there, you've eliminated them all. You're here to serve Hashem, obviously in your unique way. You do mitzvahs like everybody else, but your uniqueness comes out through doing mitzvahs. If anyone wants to see Jewish uniqueness, you can look on Hidabrut. I have Torah raps that I made. But that's not the only way to show your Torah uniqueness. You don't have to come up with raps. But anyways, but that's the whole point. So where do we come from? That right, the Torah teaches us how to self-actualize, right? And the way that a Jew self-actualizes is via clinging to Hashem, via the Torah. So now we have a way of being alive. And if we do not give our children that, they do not have life. They do not have the clinging to Hashem that is life, which means they do not know what to strive for. And if you take away a person's knowledge of what to strive for, he gets depressed, right? He doesn't know how to actualize his feelings, and that creates a feeling of depression. Right? So gentlemen, better than any anti-anxiety or anti-depression pill. Not to say some people need them, but one of the main reasons that's causing depression is that people don't know what to do with their lives. And they have but before, this is my theory, that before, it was so hard just to get by in life, right? Before the whole Industrial Revolution, all these things, that you just had to spend your whole time just getting to a very basic level of what Maslow asks for, right? What Maslow says you need is just to be able to provide food and to be able to survive. But now that we have all those things, so we're naturally just want to self-actualize. And that also explains the midlife crisis, right? Everybody knows the famous midlife crisis. What's a midlife crisis? So basically, a midlife crisis is a guy from his inception to all the way going through college, he believes that his goal, the way to actualize his self-worth, is to become financially independent. So for some people, that takes about to the age of 40, right? And what ends up happening is he achieves all of his goals, and he realizes, dear Lord, I feel empty. I've achieved financial stability, and now what, right? That's the goal that I've been spending my whole life working for. So that's why people get a little bit itchy, they get a little bit antsy, and they do something. They don't know how to actualize their they don't know how to self-actualize. So they end up doing whatever people do when they have a midlife crisis.
Which is usually buy more stuff.
What's that? Buy more stuff, right? Because they do not have they were not given the tools of how to truly self-actualize. All they know is that life is about being financial stability. So it must be that the only way to cure my problems is to get more financial things, more physical things, where it actually does not solve the problem, as we've probably all seen. That is the second paragraph. The final paragraph, gentlemen, beautiful paragraph. We said this is not specifically a Torah obligation to read this. The rabbis instituted, but why did the rabbis institute the paragraph of tzitzit? Two main reasons. One is because it mentions the going out of Egypt. And why did the rabbis want that we have a paragraph mentioning the going out of Egypt? Morning and at night, you have a mitzvah from the Torah, gentlemen, just to remember the going out of Egypt. You realize how easy and amazing that is, that you just say to yourself, I remember that God took the Jewish people out of Egypt, and you've done a Torah mitzvah.
Thank God I'm not a slave.
Right. Oh, there stems my question. Why is that an important thing, right? We always say that, like, one idea of the Shema in general, right? We always try to stay away from reasons behind mitzvahs, not because there aren't reasons, but because there's so many reasons, right? Too many, and it's very difficult. And when a person starts wanting to know the reasons, I thought about this the other day, that when a person starts wanting to know the reasons for things, he can start to think he's smarter than God, right? And start to think, oh, if that's the reason for it, so I don't really need that to do it, right? I don't really need that method in order to get to the reason that Hashem wants me to do this thing. So something like this. Why? But let's just think to ourselves. Why? What does it do for a Jew? Why is it good to meditate? What change will it make in my life when I contemplate that Hashem took the Jewish people out of Egypt? Why is that an important thing? Egypt, Mitzrayim, is a state of mind also. It's not just a physical place, and just as Hashem took us out there from Egypt, He takes us out of the Mitzrayim of my life every single day, all the things that I'm addicted to. And that's really, you want to know something, gentlemen? That Hashem takes a person out of his addictions, and the only way that we'll overcome any of our addictions, Hashem's going to take us out of. The only way we're going to overcome any addiction is via Hashem
asking for Hashem's help.
Asking for Hashem's help. Now, people might think that that's silly, but has anybody heard of AA? Right?
Yeah.
Probably the most successful addiction overcoming society, whatever you want to call it, ever.
Because there's so many alcoholics.
Right, so many alcoholics.
Yeah, I mean.
But have you ever read? No, have you ever read the 11 steps?
The 12 steps.
12 steps. Have you ever read the 12 steps? It sounds, can I just tell you, gentlemen, it sounds like you're at Or Sameach. It sounds like you're at a shir with a rabbi who's just telling you how to live a happy life. But the whole point, the whole every like 6 of the steps is I completely give myself over. I recognize I am helpless. I am completely helpless. And the only way I can come out of this addiction is via a higher power, right? They won't call it God, or they won't call it Hashem, but now I'm not bringing a proof from AA people. I'm not. That's not my proof. Is the Torah, okay? But you happen to see that if you ask any real addicts, right, that they say that the only way that they were successful is via recognizing my helplessness and that I can only give my power to Hashem. And you don't have to be an alcoholic, right? When you become a religious Jew, you realize you're addicted to much more, right? You're addicted to wasting time, and you're addicted to laziness, and you're addicted to eating, and you're addicted to sleeping, and right? The side we come from says, you know what's bad to be addicted to? Like cigarettes and alcohol, right? Those are bad, but wasting time and pornography and treating women wrongly and treating your friends wrongly, those aren't addictions. Those are just like, that's the world. No, when you want to be like God, you realize, oh my goodness, I have a lot of things I really have to work on. Okay, fine. What about Lashon Hara Anonymous? Gossip Anonymous? I can't help it. I can't help when I speak gossip. Lashon Hara Anonymous. What else is there? What is some big praying without Kavana Anonymous?
Yeah.
When I pray, I just speed right through it. How am I going to get through this, right? Only Hashem can help you, right? In every aspect, right? When you see the incredible laundry list of the person that Hashem wants you to become, and you realize how far away you are from that, so don't get sad. Ask Hashem. Say Hashem. Same. Just go through the 12 steps. Get the 12 steps and replace alcoholism with whatever you're dealing with. You know, Hashem, I am helpless. I cannot pray with kavana because I have ADD and I'm thinking about this distraction and that distraction. Hashem, I can't do it without you. I need your help. So that's good. That's one aspect of Mitzrayim, right? That's the more spiritual thing that everybody always like to talk about. But I would just like to say, excuse me, but just a basic understanding. The going out of Egypt was Hashem showing the Jewish people that He is with us specifically, right? One of the I would say like the headline of Yossi Mitzrayim is that Hashem has a specific relationship with a nation. But that it says that He took Himself the Jewish people out, right? So that's the point, that Hashem is guiding the Jewish people. Hashem is guiding the Jewish people. I always have to remember that also.